Hi, y'all. I'm Ricky Carter. I am one of PawPaw's or George Foster's grandchildren, and I really wanted to speak at the memorial, but I don't think that I would be able to hold it together, and I'm much better at putting it in video form. So here you go. So Papa was one of seven kids. He had two sisters and four brothers. As you can see, here they all are. Sadly, all of his siblings are passed away except Cotton, and he also had a extended family with my mama. When he was 17, he enrolled in the army, and he went off to Germany for World War II. So, what I've been told is that he drove the vehicles over there and also looked over the females over there. And as you can tell, he's a pretty good looking guy. When he came back, and for 43 years, he worked on the railroad as a train engineer. In his personal life, he went on to marry Joy Williford, and they had two sons and two daughters, Sue Ellen, George Thomas, Timothy Michael, and Sandra Denise. And they look like pretty much the ideal family, with George working hard at the railroad and Joy at home taking care of the kids.
Look at Daddy. He's just taking his head. I'm sure he's supposed to be doing this. Yeah.
Since PawPaw spent a lot of time working and sometimes didn't come home for a couple days, what they really enjoyed was whenever PawPaw came home, he came home with treats, and they loved going on vacations. So they would go in, more recently, their RV. As you can see here, they would love to tow the Bronco, which he later sold to me, and which was his prized possession. And they would go to Colorado a lot. They loved the weather there. They would go and see their family members up in Oklahoma. They went and traveled the world. They loved it. They couldn't get enough of it. And of course, they would bring their kids and their grandkids as much as they could. They go up and see Lisa up in Denver when she lived in Colorado. Uh, there wasn't anything that they were afraid of to doing, and they loved traveling and experiencing the world together. Though most often you'd actually end up seeing Pawpaw in his big recliner. He loved to lounge around and watch TV and fall asleep on accident, and he would always pick at his feet, and he would drink his big drinks and coffee in the morning, and he would be in his overalls without a t-shirt because that was the most comfortable thing for him. And he eventually, at the behest of Tim, got a dog, got a couple dogs. He loved his dogs. He would end up feeding half of his meal to the dogs, and he couldn't get enough of it. He really loved having his companion right by his side and talking to him and loving on him and playing with him. And they were convinced that they taught him how to say mama. So the jury is still out on that. But he loved it. He loved everything. But it really gave him something to channel his love into whenever he couldn't travel. He couldn't drive anymore, and he was at home. He'd watch his sports and love on his dog. He would do everything in that chair, and even whenever he had to go somewhere and he needed to eat, we all know that Pawpaw had the sloppiest eating habits. He would end up with half of his food on his face and the other half on his belly. And it was part of his charm. It was hilarious and he didn't care. Much like he didn't care about his hair. Mama would get on to him all the time because his hair would just go wild. I mean, they call him curly for a reason. His hair is really thick and curly and went up everywhere and went in every which direction. And there was sometimes no taming it. It had a mind of its own, and it's pretty much what runs in the family. As you can tell, we have big, voluminous hair, and it's crazy. One of the things that he would get out for is sports or band or gymnastics. Anything that had to do with his kids. He would be there up front and center, painting his hair red, screaming and hollering, and being there to support everybody because that's who he was. He was everybody's biggest fan, especially his kids and his grandkids. He did all this until he couldn't. There came a time where he couldn't remember people and he couldn't take care of himself, and he would fall and hurt himself, and he broke his finger and hit his head, and he went through a lot. And even though he went through a lot, he always had a nice attitude. He was positive. All of the people that took care of him always said how great and amazing he was. And every once in a while, you get a glimmer of who he was, and he'd laugh, and it'd make it all worthwhile. Now that that's over with, more important things, and my favorite thing, Mama. They were soulmates. They loved spending time together. They were together 24/7 whenever Papa wasn't working. When he finally retired, he got to spend as much time as he wanted to with Mama, and they really lived it up. They went everywhere they could possibly think of. Mama always told Papa where she wanted to go, and Papa just followed right along because that's the kind of guy he was. He loved her. They were meant to be. You could tell whenever they looked at each other. The personality differences worked for them. They loved to just be around each other, even though Papa would like to aggravate her. She loved it in the end because it made life exciting and fun, and he was goofy and silly, and he would always tell you exactly how he felt and that he loved you, and he was chasing her up until the day he couldn't remember anything. And that's really what I've found out is soulmates and love from them.
Hillary Clinton live on CNN in an exclusive town hall that will leave no question off limits.
You don't represent women in politics in America.
How's that banana split, PawPaw? How is it?
Good.
I'm glad.
Really good. He's really enjoying this. He might need this instead of a Whataburger.
Charter Spectrum turns your internet on full blast with double the speed up to 60 megabits per second.
Well, hang on.
Hey, Mama. Hey, Mama. I want a brand new car, champagne and caviar. Hey, Mama. I want to get the best for you.
Hey, Daddy, no new car for you, no limousine or diamond rings. Hey, Daddy, you've already got the best in me. All right.
Yay!
That's a freaking we did. Yay!
That's cute. That's cute.
How you can be completely different than somebody, and yet it works. Where Mama wanted to do bigger performances and Pawpaw wanted to be a big goofball, and it worked. Like, whose Pawpaw would put underwear on their head or a wig on their head or a Santa hat and be in play Santa all the time, and at a kid's party just act like a kid or put on the graduation cap or a wig. I mean, it never ended with PawPaw. He was so free spirited and fun loving, and he loved to make everybody laugh and smile. And Mama, just like in this, put him up to it, and he thrived. He loved it. Everybody loved it. Everybody loved him, and we're all gonna miss him because he was the best. We're all gonna miss that infectious laugh that he had anytime he got tickled.
Okay, Johnson, I'm glad you got to stay with us.
Say,
Go
"Tell
have to come
Billy
back and say again.
They took him out there in the backyard and the dog was barking
This
next
is one of my
door.
favorite nephews."
And he said, what's this, Jonathan? And a little knot hole, and that dog come over and he squirted some WD-40 through the
Are you serious?
Yeah, he said, what's this, Jonathan? Come here. He laughed. That laugh, how he laughed.
And see, that's perfect to get the laugh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Things up real pretty, y'all.
he's always had that.
Or he'd make us laugh with his off the wall stories from the old days. So that's my pawpaw in a nutshell. He was always taking us on vacations and sneaking us candy and gifts and money behind Mama's back, and going to school functions and anything that we possibly could want him to go to, sports or band for me. He was always calling and checking up on us like almost every day, and until his mind started slipping. And I mean, he gave me his Bronco. Basically, he sold it for me for dirt cheap whenever I had nothing else. I know he taught Robbie how to ride a motorcycle. He taught us how to be hardworking. I mean, he worked most of his life and he served our country. He was always positive and honest and loyal and sweet, and didn't take everything seriously. He just had fun. He knew how to laugh at his own jokes, and and he'd always tell us to look out for those frogs, those and he'd always make us feel special. Every single kid, every single grandkid, every single friend that we could possibly have that he may have met once, he just was that kind of guy. He just made you feel awesome because he really cared for you. And I'll miss him. I still do. I have missed him. I'm just glad he's in heaven now. Now I can see and hear and think, and he's over there. He's watching us. I know he is. Even whenever he was about to pass away, I felt like he was in the room and wanted us to laugh instead. So we all told stories and had a good time. And after all that, then I think he finally realized that he can let go. That we'll be okay without him. We'll be sad, but we'll make it. And he's in a better place. He's a great guy, great pawpaw. So, that's all I had to say, which was a lot, I know.